Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing another new topic of the chapter soil. So today what we are going to discuss, today we will be discussing a very interesting topic, that is soil erosion. Okay, so let's proceed with the topic. So in soil erosion, what we are going to learn today in soil erosion, first of all we will be discussing about a little introduction, definition of soil erosion. Then we will be discussing about the causes of soil erosion, then effects, what are the effect occurs with soil erosion, and finally how we can prevent the soil. Okay, now the topsoil, we all know the topsoil which is present, okay, it is very fertile. Why it is very fertile? Due to the enrichment of humus. Okay, now this topsoil, it is often carried away by strong winds, okay, or washed away by heavy rains. Okay, so this phenomenon of removal of fertile topsoil from land by wind or water is called what? Is called soil erosion. Right, now the loss of fertile soil, okay, at places, what happens, it exposes the infertile subsoil. We all know there are layers of soil, isn't it? Now when this topsoil is removed, okay, then it exposes what? It exposes the infertile subsoil. That is, the subsoil, it is not rich with humus as the topsoil is. Okay, now this subsoil, it cannot be used to grow plants and trees. Okay, and in absence of this plants and trees, what happens, the area, it becomes what? It becomes desert. So in desert, what happens, the soil erosion, it occurs mainly through wind. Okay, now soil erosion, it does not easily occur where the land is covered by vegetation. Vegetation means where it is covered with trees. Now soil erosion, where it occurs easily? It occurs easily in those areas of land which are not covered by vegetation, or it has very little vegetation. Okay, so the soil erosion, it is more severe in those areas such as a bare land or desert. Okay, now what we are going to discuss, we will be discussing that why the soil covered by vegetation is not eroded easily, but the soil not covered by vegetation is eroded very easily. Okay, now what are the points? Point is, number one, if there is vegetation on land, then what happens? We all know that root is present in a plant, isn't it? Root, it is present in underneath the soil. Now what is the function of root? We have already read in class 6. Now the root of this trees, okay, it grows in the soil and it binds the particle of topsoil firmly. Okay, now due to this binding of soil particles by the roots of trees, what happens, the blowing wind and flowing rainwater, they are not able to carry away the topsoil, and hence what happens, it prevents the soil erosion. Okay, but if the soil is not covered by vegetation, it is easily eroded. Why it is easily eroded? Because there are no roots of trees and plants in it that can bind the soil particles or anchor the soil particle, and it cannot prevent them from being carried away by strong winds or flowing rainwater. Okay, what happens in absence of plant root? What happens, the soil, it becomes loose and it can easily be blown away. Right, now if there is vegetation on land, okay, then much of the falling rain, it hits the trees and plants before it hits the soil. Definitely the crown of the tree. Okay, first it hits the crown of the tree, and then what happens, it hits the soil. In this way, what happens, the cover of vegetation, it softens, or you can say it reduces the effect of heavy rains on soil. Right, the soil, it does not become loose easily, and the flowing rainwater, it is also not able to carry away the topsoil. Due to this reason, what happens, the soil erosion does not occur if there are proper vegetation. Okay, so if there are no vegetation on land, okay, then what happens, this land, it becomes softened, okay, due to the effect of heavy rain, and the bare soil, it becomes loose very quickly by the force of falling rainwater, and thus what happens, it gets eroded very easily. Okay, so this is all about a short or brief introduction on soil erosion, that why it causes. Now we will describe that what are the causes of soil erosion. Now, soil erosion basically it is caused by the large scale cutting down of forest trees and other plant. Basically, this is known as the process of deforestation. Deforestation, it is a very common term nowadays, and I hope all of you know about deforestation, isn't it? Now, a large number of forest trees, they are cut down every day for obtaining wood or burning as a fuel. Okay, for building purpose, for manufacturing of paper. Okay, now when all these forest trees and other plants they are cut down, then what happens? The topsoil it gets exposed and it becomes loose because there are no roots available to bind the soil and no cover to soften the effect of falling rain with a huge force. Right? The blowing wind and flowing rainwater they can easily carry away the loose soil by causing soil erosion. Right. Now, effects of soil erosion. What are the effects of soil erosion? So there are several effects of soil erosion. Number one, soil erosion it can turn lush green forest into desert and it can spoil the environment. Right. Now what happens when the fertile topsoil in a forest it gets removed by soil erosion, then what happens? It left the infertile subsoil behind. Isn't it? Now no forest plant can grow in this infertile soil, due to which once lush green forest can gradually turn into a desert, and this spoils the environment. Okay, this basically breaks the ecosystem, because if there are no plants, okay, then there will be no herbivore, because where the herbivore will feed upon? If there are no herbivore, then certainly there will be no carnivore or omnivore, and if there are no producer, no herbivore, no carnivore, no omnivore, then definitely there will not be any existence of this decomposers. As a result, the ecosystem it will totally break. Understood? Next is what? Next effect is soil erosion. It can lead to famines. Famines means what? Famines means excessive scarcity of food. Okay, what happens when the fertile topsoil is removed by soil erosion? Then the food crops they do not grow well in the remaining infertile soil. Okay, and due to this bad crop, there is an excessive shortage of food grain in that area. Okay, the people they do not get sufficient food to eat, and as a result, what happens? They starve to death. Right. Next effect is what? Soil erosion. It can cause flood. Flood, you know that it is a very severe natural calamity. Every year almost a certain place they face this natural calamity, flood, isn't it? Now the soil it is carried away from land by flowing rainwater gradually, and it deposit on river beds. Okay, so what happens when it rains heavily? The river it cannot take away all the rainwater quickly. Okay, due to this what happens? The river water overflows from its bank and causes severe flood by submerging the surrounding areas. Okay, so these flood what happens? They cause damage to life and property. Okay, next is what? Next is prevention of soil erosion. How you can prevent soil erosion? Now soil, you all know that it is a very important natural resource in which our food is grown. So it is our duty to protect the soil by preventing the soil erosion. So how we can protect the soil by preventing the soil erosion? Number one, we should prevent large scale cutting down of forest trees. Okay, the large scale cutting down of forest trees, this is known as what? This is known as deforestation. So what we can say? We can say that we can prevent the soil erosion by preventing deforestation, isn't it? Number two is what? Soil erosion it can be prevented by afforestation. Afforestation it is just the opposite of deforestation. Now afforestation means what? Large scale growing of forest trees in place of cut down trees. Now if you need to cut down the trees to obtain timber, to obtain for the manufacturing of paper, okay, then side by side what you have to do? You have to plant new trees in place of the cut down trees. In this way what will happen? Again the forest will continue to have sufficient number of trees all the time. Okay, and this tree they will this tree cover, rather I can say, it will prevent the soil erosion of the forest land. Okay, and then soil erosion it can be prevented by increasing the green cover or vegetation around us by planting more trees and plant ourselves. Okay, so here you can see the picture of soil erosion. Okay, these are all what? These are the infertile subsoil. Now, you cannot grow any kind of vegetation, okay, or you cannot perform any agriculture in this infertile subsoil. So this is a condition, okay, or the picture of the soil after the soil it gets eroded. Okay, so this is all about today's class. Next day I'll discuss in details about soil pollution. Thank you everyone.